Well, I'm so excited to have join me Mary C Lin. She is an author, a psychologist, and a very wise woman of faith. Thank you for coming back.
Thank you for having me.
And we're talking about a tough topic today,
Mm-hmm.
you know, grief during the holidays. I know it's not elves and Santa, and you know, it's tough, but so many people are facing it at Christmas. And for whatever reason, it seems to get worse during Christmas, or it seems to feel worse during Christmas. Like somehow we should all have that Norman Rockwell perfect picture of a family Christmas.
Well, expectations for Christmas is just incredibly high. It's supposed to be times of laughter and fun and joy and all of that. But that's not reality for many people, especially when they've gone through a loss of a loved one. And when we talk about grief, it's not always just the loss of a loved one, although that's obviously a big source of grief. But for many people, it's a loss of a dream, loss of that life that I wished I had. I wanted to have that life where my parents were together. I wanted to have that life where I was married and had kids, and I don't. So it can often be a time of great sadness for people.
You know what, that is so insightful, because I was talking to a friend of mine who's a single mom, and she was saying, you know, because I share custody, every year I'm without my son for part of Christmas. I'm alone.
Yeah.
And I said, are you still grieving for your ex-husband, or is it really about that picture perfect life that you wished that you had, you know, together as a family?
Yeah.
And that was really it. She said, you know, what I'm really grieving is that I don't have what I thought I would have. I never imagined myself in this place in my life.
Yeah.
And that loneliness. And she doesn't want to reach out to people because she said, I'm a big downer. I don't want to be the big
Well,
downer.
exactly. She looks around, she sees all her friends having a great time, spending time with their family.
Yes.
And you don't want to be a burden on people. And that's actually one of the things I often hear from people who are grieving. They feel like they have to fake their way through life because they don't want to burden their friends and family. So they put on that big smile, or they have to withdraw so that they aren't making other people sad or bringing them down. So that's the challenge for us when we are walking with people who are grieving, is to kind of give them the space to just kind of be. You know, you're in a season of grief, and there's no right or wrong about it. There's no prescribed path. It has to be this way, and you have to have it done in 10 steps, or there's something wrong with you. It's so unique, the journey of grief. So if I'm a friend walking with somebody through grief, it's to just, you know, take my cues from them and be with them, be available to them, draw them out if you can. And if you're the one going through grief, it's recognizing that, oh my goodness, I'm going through this tough season in my life. Can I give myself some grace for what I'm going through? And can I accept that this is a hard journey I'm going through right now, and it's okay. It's okay that I'm not that great friend that I used to be. It's okay that I'm not able to help as much as I used to. Allow yourself that space.
You know what, this is such an important topic. I put it out on social media and just said, hey, does anyone have any questions? And I literally within 1 hour was inundated with people asking me questions, telling me their stories, inboxing me their personal loss over the last year. It's just huge to face that first Christmas, that second. Some people were talking about things that had happened 20 years before that they still grieve at Christmas. Is that, I don't even know where to start with all these questions. I try to take note of them all, but is that okay that I'm still grieving something that happened 20 years ago? And is that just, do I need to just accept that Christmas is going to kind of bring that up again?
Christmas, special anniversaries, birthdays, you'll still get that feeling, even if you've moved on with normal life, we say in quotes. Sometimes people do get stuck in their grief, and they haven't been able to move past, they haven't been able to embrace life once again. So it's one thing to feel sadness, it's one thing to feel that loss and just that momentary, oh, I wish so-and-so was with me, or I wish my life was different. But it's another thing when you're held back and you can't actually continue to move forward and embrace life.
So what advice would you give then if somebody's watching this right now and they're saying, you know what, I feel stuck in my grief, I feel like I'm not moving on in my life, what would you say to them?
Well, often there's a reason why they're stuck, and often it's because they're not necessarily looking at the things that's going on inside of them. Either they're just trying to keep busy and just distract themselves, you know, stuff it all down, or else they haven't been able to kind of process deeply how angry they actually are. Many people will tell me that they get so angry at God because, God, why did you let this happen to me? Almost a sense of betrayal.
Yeah.
Which are strong words to say.
It's kind of normal.
And it's
in a way,
normal,
right?
but if I can't be honest with myself that I'm actually feeling really angry at God and I'm feeling betrayed by Him, then how do I ever process that? And so then I can get stuck. So if that's what's happening to someone, it's so important that they reach out for help, because there is help, and to walk with someone who is going to accept where you're at. They're not going to judge you. They're going to actually invite you enter into your story and do all the things that help you to begin to let go, forgive, be honest, all those things that you need to do when you're grieving.
So are you talking about professional help, like counseling, or are you talking about reaching out to a friend who can walk you through in a non-judgmental way?
If you have such a friend, wonderful. But it's a lot to ask of a friend. And I find that people can be more honest with me because they don't feel like they're imposing on me as they would with a friend.
Right.
So if you think about if you were grieving and you were just same old, always talking about this person you lost or this job you lost, you know after a while you kind of go, oh, I'm boring them, I'm too much for them.
Right, and sometimes you are.
And to be honest, right?
Right.
So I think as a friend, yeah, continue to walk with the person who's grieving, but you might not be able to be the one that can handle the depth of their agony or their pain because it's too much to ask of you, and it's not easy for them to be that raw with you.
Well, that brings me to the next question. A lot of people had friends that were going through grief, and they weren't sure how to help. They feel very awkward. They don't know the right thing to say, and they wanted kind of your advice on what do I say? What can I do? And one of the big questions is, can I bring up memories of that person? Does it help?
Absolutely.
Or if they start crying,
Yeah.
am I actually making it worse because they're trying to forget, and we're in this false happiness,
Right.
moment.
Well, you do take your cues from the person, and many people who have lost loved ones tell me that they are just longing to talk about their loved one, but they feel like they can't because people around them are pretending like everything's okay. So absolutely, if you're getting that sense from your friend, then invite that. But the best thing, the most important thing you can offer your friend is your presence. And just to sit with them, you don't even have to say words. In fact, try not to give them advice, as I always say. We had this
wanna all fix
conversation
it,
before.
right?
Well, yeah.
Well, you
so
love them.
just your presence. A lot of times just an empathetic ear. Like you can't walk in their shoes, you can't fully understand them. So just to say words like I understand or I know what you're going through is not true. So sometimes just silence and a hug or just a caring look on your face and just listening can be one of the most important things you can do for them.
It's incredible, I think, people just feel so helpless because they want to fix it. And really, grief is a journey that you just have to go through. And,
That's right.
And for a lot of people, this Christmas is going to be awful. And there's just no way around that.
There's no shortcuts. I wish there were. I wish I had a magic pill for it. The other thing, though, having said that, what I find beautiful about people who go through the grieving process is they often will come out of the other end just transformed. Not that I'm saying they should go through grief. I'm not suggesting that that's the case, but people who choose to grieve and grieve well are beautiful people who then are able to offer comfort to others who are grieving.
So what does it mean to grieve well? I have to ask you that because I'm sure people are watching going, well, how do I grieve well? I'm just grieving. It's kind of, I almost think it's a process you feel out of control of,
Yes.
really.
Exactly. It's messy. It's really paying attention to what's going on inside of me and accepting that this is how I feel, and not judging myself, and that in fact giving myself compassion. And so it means that it can get ugly because sometimes I'm gonna feel like crazy angry, or I could be in such grief that it's those kinds of cries where it's like the snorting cries, and
Yeah,
the ugly
not pretty.
cries, it's
The
not
ugly
pretty. And sometimes you can get almost nasty, you can project it to others, you can yell at people and you're not actually mad at them, but you just can't help yourself, and it can get messy. So when I say grieving well, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to look pretty in a neat little box. It just means that you give yourself permission to actually push into it, walk through it, process it, and then work through to letting go.
Giving yourself time.
And giving yourself time, however long it takes, and it's so individual.
Well, I saw this great ministry here at Christmas, and it was started by a widow who said that when she lost her husband, and she didn't have any children, so she was very alone in the world. And she said people didn't know how to act around her, like they felt very awkward, and so she finds herself alone at Christmas. And she started a campaign challenging churchgoers to actually invite a widow over their house over the holidays, which I think is great. And I think that's a big part of the problem. People have such a huge heart to help, and they just don't know. And so sometimes they actually avoid the grieving person because they say it's uncomfortable and I feel like a failure and I don't want to make you feel worse.
And it's okay to actually go, I feel uncomfortable, I don't know how to handle it, but I want to be here for you. It's the fact that you're actually choosing to come alongside them. And you're also not just being silent in front of them and just kind of going, oh, I don't know what to say. It's okay to say, I don't know what to say. But the fact that you're actually trying is huge for people.
I really identify with them because I just lost two cousins in the last month. They were brother and sister, and they died 2 days apart. And so I just spent all this time at the funeral homes with their spouses, with their kids, and with their brothers and sisters who've like just that multiple loss. And I had so many people inbox me about losing a brother and sister, or losing a parent and a brother, you know, and all within a short space of time. And it almost feels like more than they can overwhelm. So I really want to make sure that we give practical information about what people can do, because I didn't even know what to do. You know, obviously I pray for them. I told them I'd be praying for them. You try to be there for them. And I know the months after the funeral are really key.
Yes.
You know, once time goes on, not to forget.
Yeah.
What would you say to people?
Well, number one, give yourself space and grace. Give yourself a time. Be sensitive to where you're at. Accept where you're at. Don't try to pretend and fake your way through life. Allow yourself to process through your emotions and have compassion on yourself. That's one of the most important things. Sometimes as Christians, we try to say, oh, I should be just trusting the Lord, or they're in a better place, they're in heaven with the Lord, so therefore I should be happy for them. And we try to should ourselves out of how we feel. So self-compassion is absolutely huge. And the second thing is to be authentic. And if you have to go to God in all your rawness, and allow yourself to be angry with him, allow yourself to tell him how betrayed you feel. He can handle it. He's got huge shoulders. He just wants you to go to him.
And that's hard, you know, even as a counselor, I know that you hear from people who say really ugly things. And when you're in grief or you're angry sometimes, it comes out ugly.
Exactly.
But God is
He can totally
so
handle
gracious.
it. If you have to go into a field and throw plates and break them, if that's the way of doing it, then okay. Like there's nothing wrong with that. So it's almost embracing where you're at, accepting where you're at, entering into it, but also being authentic with God and with a trusted friend or two. And the last thing I would say is reach out. It's common to want to isolate yourself. And you know what? Part of it is giving yourself space to quietly on your own grieve, and you just don't want to be around people. It's just too much. But with that trusted friend or a pastor or a counselor where you can be yourself and there's no expectations placed on you to kind of pretend you have it all together, then that is where healing can begin to happen.
Well, I can see why you're such a wonderful counselor. I want to tell you everything that's going on in my life.
Go for it.
You're so safe. And,
you.
you know, I pray that people find that trusted friend, that trusted counselor, such as you, and reach out. Thank you so much for your expertise and your advice.
Thank you.
If you've been watching this and you're saying, you know what, this Christmas, that's what I'm going through, and maybe you're looking at Facebook and everybody else seems to have the perfect family and the perfect Christmas, and that, you know, Facebook, honestly, can we just say right now, it's a lie. Nobody has the perfect Christmas. Everybody has loss that they deal with, loss of dreams, as Dr. Mary said. You know, don't buy into that lie. And one of the great things you can do, as she said, reach out. She's always saying reach out, but reach out is such an important step. And we have people here, the most wonderful people, who are here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and all they want to do is be that compassionate, kind, listening ear. They want to pray for you, they want to listen to you, and they want to help you through your time of grief. They are those trusted friends. The numbers are on the bottom of your screen. Please take that step and give them a call.